Hello, and welcome to our live stream, Harness the Power of Social Media for Maximum Return. We still have a few people joining us, so we're going to take it just a little bit slow here in the beginning, but we're glad you're here with us today. We invite you to chat. If you're watching on YouTube, you can chat on the little chat pane off to the right of the video. You can also connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag #MeLivestream. I've got Jordan and Mark here with me in the background, and they're watching that Twitter feed as well as the YouTube chat so they can talk with you as we go. And if you have questions, please throw them in that chat window, or you can save them for the very end. But if you throw them in the chat window now, you'll get them answered right away. So I am Amy Bucher. I'm the Chief Marketing Technologist with Marketing Essentials. We are a small inbound digital agency focused on growing your traffic, generating leads, closing sales, and then creating brand advocates for your brand. And today we're going to talk about social media. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to cover a few things briefly. First, we're going to talk about the sales funnel process and how that directly affects your social marketing. We're going to look at personas because everything you do needs to be around your personas. Every client that we start with, we always talk about personas first, because if you can't clearly define your persona, your marketing will fail because you always need to be talking to your personas. We're going to look at the demographics of 8 important social channels. There are thousands of social channels out there. We could spend all day talking about all of them, but we're going to focus in on these 8, and we're going to look at the demographics of each, and then we're going to look at the best practices on each. And this is only a 60-minute webinar, so we're not going to get really in depth on any of the channels, but when you leave today, you should have a really good understanding of which channels you should be on and what you should be doing on those channels. And then the final thing we're going to talk about is how do you measure the return in your social? How do you know if it's working to drive towards that bottom line? So let's look at the sales funnel. This is the buyer's journey. And this is if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, you already know about the sales funnel, and it's very similar offline as it is online. So what happens is your persona, your buyer, discovers that they have an issue, they have a problem, they have a challenge, they have something that they're trying to solve. They're aware that they need to do something, and they begin seeking information. For you, this is your top of the funnel where you want to get traffic. This is where social is very, very powerful. As you grow your brand reach on your social channels, you come into the viewpoint of this buyer, this potential buyer who knows they have an issue and they're starting to seek out solutions. When your social reach is big, then you get in front of those buyers that you might not normally have gotten in front of. The next stage in their journey, they know they have an issue, they know they have a problem, they're seeking out solutions. At the consideration stage, they're starting to weigh their options. They're looking at you, they're looking at your competitor, they're looking at something else, other solutions, and they're starting to weigh the pros and cons. They're deciding, this solution will help me this way, this solution will help me this way. What's the best way for me to solve my problem or to deal with this challenge that I have? At this point in the sales funnel, you're looking to generate leads. You're looking to get in so that you can continually nurture those people who are interested in what it is you're selling. With your website, this is where you can collect email addresses and then nurture them through email. On social, this is where you get people engaged, get them commenting, get them liking your page, just continuing to grow that engagement with them. At the decision stage, so your persona, your potential buyer, they've weighed their options. Now they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. They're going to say yes to you and no to your competitor, or they're going to say yes to your competitor and no to you. Most of you are probably not selling anything directly on social, but there are things that you can do within your social channels that will encourage those bottom of the funnel sales. When you have reviews, when you have positive words from other people, when you have lots of engagement with your social channels, that builds the trust factor that helps close those sales. At the very bottom of the funnel, we have what we call the retention stage. This is where we're building brand advocates. This is where they've closed the deal, they've said yes to you, they love the service, they love the product, they love whatever it is that they've bought from you, and they want to tell people. And this is a place where social really shines because it gives them a platform where they can tell lots of people. They can leave reviews. They can talk about how great you are. They can tag you in posts and in tweets. This is a place where you want to make it really easy for those happy customers to talk about you. So social, as you've probably picked up, your social channels are strongest at the very top of the funnel where you're building awareness, and at the very bottom where you're building those brand advocates. Now, when we talk about your buyer, I'll use the word persona a lot, and this is what a persona looks like typically. This is a very watered down persona. When we take on a new client, we build out very complex, in-depth personas so that we know exactly how to market to them. But this is some basic information you should know about your buyers. And typically, you'll have 2 or 3 primary buyers. You might have more, you might have less, depending on your industry and what solutions you're providing. But at the very least, you want to know their name and title. Industry may or may not be important for you, depends. Their age and gender can be very important. Now, even if you're a B2B, if you are a business selling to a business, you're still people selling to people. That age and gender still matter. Who's the primary person at that company that you deal with, that influencer or that decision maker? Knowing their age and gender, as you'll see when we start to look at the demographics of the social channels, that information is very important. So think about other important demographic info. So for example, one of Marketing Essentials personas, we call her Mary Marketer because we like the alliteration. And the industry doesn't matter, but she's typically a she. 75% of the time it's a female, 25% of the time it's a male. She works at a company whose annual revenue is between $2.5 and $8 million a year. She's about 35 to 50. And that's the primary demographic information we have about her that's important to know, where she's at and what she's doing online. So next, now not as important for what we're talking about today, but if you've never built out personas and you're doing this for the first time, really think about their primary problem and their primary challenge. What is the issue that they're trying to solve? Narrow it down as much as possible to what it is they want to do, and then the solution that you offer, because this is what's going to define how you market to these people. You're not always selling, but you're providing information around those primary problems that they have, those issues that they're facing. You're giving them educational information. You're giving them, and we'll talk a little bit later about the type of content you put out there. But if you haven't done this, take a little time and define your persona. Now, I hope you've taken some notes about your persona, because we're going to walk through the social channels and we're going to talk about the demographics. And I want you to know your persona well enough that when I tell you the demographics for each channel, you can say, oh, yes, that's a channel we should definitely be on. Or, oh, no, my persona is not going to be there most likely based on the demographic information we see. So we're going to look at 8 big ones today: Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, and Instagram. And some of these you may not have heard before, or you've heard of them and you have no idea what they are, or some of them you're like, oh yeah, that's been around forever. So let's start with the big one, the one that's been around supposedly forever, Facebook. So we have 1.5 billion monthly active users on Facebook. These are active users. They are actively on Facebook every month. Now, looking at the gender breakdown, this is of all internet users, 66% of all male internet users are on Facebook. 77% of all female internet users are on Facebook. And this is a trend that we'll see where we see more women than men. We see this on just about every social channel. The social channels tend to be dominated by female. There are a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, our social is female dominant. Looking at the age range across Facebook, so 87% of all millennials are on Facebook. Now you'll see the articles that say Facebook's getting gray and the young people aren't there anymore, but the data tells us the young people are still there. Now, the young people, they aren't using Facebook the same way as their parents use it, and their parents aren't using it the same way as the grandparents are using it, but all the generations are there. They're all using Facebook in some form or fashion, not in the same ways. So you do need to market differently depending on which age groups you're trying to reach. And then as far as location, Facebook has the best cross urban, suburban, and rural representation. We'll typically see in most of the channels a much higher urban representation than rural. There is one channel that's an exception to that. We'll get to that one in a little bit. But overall, Facebook has the greatest reach of all the social channels as far as internet users, as far as location, as far as age. Facebook really is the granddaddy of the social channels right now. And if you are a B2C, if you are selling to consumers and you can only do one social channel, you only have the resources, the time, the money, whatever, to do one social channel, I would do Facebook. It would probably be your first choice, unless you're trying to reach a very, very young demographic, and then we'll look at some channels that might have a better return for you for those. If you're a B2B, business to business, Facebook might not be your best first channel. LinkedIn might be a better choice for you. But overall, Facebook tends to be the strongest choice for most businesses. All right, YouTube. So we have 1 billion daily active users on YouTube, and collectively they are watching 6 billion hours of video every month. This is a very active channel, and you might not think of YouTube as a social channel because it's a little different than like a Facebook or a Twitter or even a LinkedIn, but it can be used socially. It can also be very strong for your search engine optimization. So looking at the ages, YouTube, again, like Facebook, crosses all ages, but skews very young. Every young person is on YouTube, and they're almost always on mobile devices. Video on mobile is huge right now. And so I want to tell you this, if you have any kind of video marketing that you're doing, if you're creating videos, you should be on YouTube. There are other places where you can post videos like Vimeo, and that's good too, but YouTube needs to be your #1 channel for your video marketing. And the reasons for that, one, YouTube is owned by Google. YouTube videos show up in Google results. So we all know Google's the #1 used search engine. YouTube is actually the #2. It's technically not a search engine, but people use YouTube to search, to directly search for things right on YouTube. It's a very powerful channel. So if you're doing any kind of video, you need to be on YouTube. You need to have a YouTube presence. If you're not doing video, you need to start. You need to look at that and start figuring that out, because video, it's the current and it's the future. People watch videos online. They watch it on their computer, they watch it on their phone, they just watch a lot of video. As we can see, YouTube tells us, these are stats directly from YouTube, they reach more in the 18 to 49-year-old age range than any single cable network in the US. YouTube is replacing television for a lot of us. But the next fact there is that only 9% of small businesses in the US are using YouTube. So the door is wide open. If you're not there yet, or if you're not leveraging this channel yet, this can be a really powerful channel for you. So let's talk about LinkedIn. So if Facebook is like your garden party where you have your friends and your family and the grandkids and the grandparents, LinkedIn is like a professional networking event. You've got on the suit and the tie's pulled all the way up. There are 400 million users there. It's split pretty evenly between men and women. So 28% of all men on the internet are on LinkedIn. 27% of all women on the internet are on LinkedIn. And if you look at the age range, it's our typical career-oriented age range. So that 30 to 64, that's who's on LinkedIn, the people who are career-minded, career-focused, professional. And you'll see they have a much larger urban presence than a rural presence, which, given the purpose of it, it is the place where people go to have their own professional profile and their business profile. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a business person, you need to have a personal profile on LinkedIn. That's just a given. People expect that now. When they're looking for you online, if you interview for a new job, anything, people expect you to have that professional profile on LinkedIn. One of the interesting stats about LinkedIn is the type of people that are on LinkedIn. 44% make over $75,000 a year. LinkedIn is a high income audience. Education, over half of them are college graduates. So these are your degreed professionals who are on LinkedIn. So if you're doing any kind of fundraising, if you're a nonprofit, LinkedIn should be your first channel of choice if that's a primary goal for you to fundraise. Absolutely, you want that LinkedIn presence. If you're a business to business, if that's your audience, then you should be on LinkedIn. It can be a very, very powerful channel for that business to business, for reaching those upper professionals. Google Plus is our weird little nerdy kid on the playground social channel. Google launched this a while back as essentially a Facebook contender. And it kind of took off with early adopters at first. People were like, oh, this is something new and fun and exciting. And we all wanted to check it out. And we discovered nobody knows what to do with it. And the numbers that Google gives us are skewed, because if you have a Gmail account, then Google automatically created a Google Plus account for you. So they used to have these huge numbers which rivaled Facebook, but it turns out they weren't accurate because those people weren't actively using Google. Now they tell us that there are 300 million active Google Plus users every month. They don't give us a lot of other stats about Google Plus, except a few here. We do know it's very male dominated. You'll find techie guys, my industry, marketing, there are a lot of marketers on there. You'll see engineers, that type of audience. So if that's an audience you're trying to reach, Google Plus might be good for you. Now, that said, let me throw out a caveat, because Google Plus, I think Google has a tendency to end their initiatives very quickly. And they've made some noise that Google Plus is going to go away at some point. It's going to merge with other things they have. So if you are choosing just one channel, I wouldn't choose Google Plus as your primary channel at this point, knowing that Google's making some noise about getting rid of it. But if you have other channels and Google Plus is a place where you're not active yet, that might be something to consider. So Twitter, our little bird, they actually got rid, this isn't the Twitter logo anymore. They got rid of the word Twitter, and now it's just a little bird now. Has a large active audience, and I'll hear so many clients say, so we got this really strong Facebook presence, so now we need to go to Twitter. Well, not necessarily. The same audience that's on Facebook is not necessarily on Twitter. It is a smaller crowd on Twitter, but they are very active. And they're also pretty evenly split between men and women. So 24% of men on the internet on Twitter, 21% of the women on the internet are on Twitter. But if you look at the age range, Twitter skews pretty young. And then if you look at the location, you'll see Twitter skews very urban. So if you're trying to reach young urbanites, Twitter could be a very good channel for you. If you're trying to reach your Gen Xers who are suburban or rural, it might not be so strong. And as you get older, the boomers really don't know what to do with Twitter yet. They haven't figured it out. They don't understand how you do anything in 140 characters. For the most part, I'm talking in generalities, obviously, but Twitter will be strong for you with a young urban persona. But outside of that, it might not be your best channel. Pinterest. If we were in a live workshop right now, I would ask how many women are on Pinterest, and almost all of you would put up your hands. 42% of all women on the internet are on Pinterest. There's not a whole lot of men on Pinterest at this point, but that demographic is growing. Pinterest is starting to grow out of the woman-only atmosphere that it has, and embracing more men. I especially see designers on Pinterest, male and female, but a lot of male. Pinterest spans a wide range of ages. It's similar to Facebook in that you can reach just about any age on Pinterest. Right now, it'll be just about any age of female, but with that growing male audience. And this is our one channel that has a larger rural population than urban, which is really interesting. But if you know anything about Pinterest, you know it's a lot of recipes, it's a lot of do-it-yourself, things along those lines. So it makes sense that it's going to be more rural than urban. I'm interested to watch these statistics and see how it changes as Pinterest grows. Pinterest is known for having an extremely high click-through rate of all the social channels. The users on Pinterest tend to click through more than on other social channels. So if you pin something interesting, they'll click through to your website to see what that is. So Pinterest can be really, if you're doing any kind of do-it-yourself, if that's an audience you're trying to reach, absolutely be on Pinterest. If you have a very visual product, Pinterest can be very powerful for you. If you're trying to reach women and you have a visual product, boom, Pinterest is a great channel for you. So Snapchat, this is an interesting social channel because you can only access it on your mobile device. You cannot access Snapchat any other way than through that app. There are 100 million daily active Snapchat users, and they're all sending around 4 snaps each day. And it's a very young audience, very female. So these statistics are Snapchat exclusive. So 70% of Snapchat users are female versus 30% male. 71% are younger than 25. This is a very, very young audience on Snapchat. And then correlating with that, of course, 62% earn less than $50,000 in income, which makes sense given the age. Interesting, Snapchat has started the new Discover feature. They started the stories earlier in the year, and now there's Discover, and they're giving brands a way to have a stronger presence on Snapchat. And so this channel is only going to grow as they figure out how to monetize it and do more with the ads that they just started this year as well. This channel is going to become stronger, but really for a long time, it's just going to stay with that very young crowd. So last channel, we're going to look at demographics, Instagram. So 400 million monthly active Instagram users. This is another mobile first platform. Surprisingly, over a quarter of the US population is on Instagram. It is a very popular channel. More women than men, as we see with most of the social channels. And then the age skews very young, like Snapchat, but not as young as Snapchat, because there is a quarter of the population in the 30 to 49 age range. So a quarter of those Gen Xers are on Instagram, and even some of the boomers are on Instagram. Looking at the location, a very strong urban presence, and suburban, like most of the channels, not as much in the rural. So I want to take a moment. I wish I could ask you directly, but which channels are your personas on? If you're on the YouTube channel, go ahead and throw something in the chat. Which channels do you think your personas are on? Based on what you know about your buyer, based on what we just discussed with the demographics for each channel, where are they? This is important for you to start formulating that in your head, because we're going to go through each of those 8 channels again and talk about some best practices. So if you know that you're trying to reach middle-aged urban women, you know, Snapchat's probably not going to be a strong channel for them. LinkedIn might not be a strong channel, but Facebook might be. Twitter could possibly be, depending. So let's talk briefly, before we look at those 8 channels, how do people want to interact with your brand on social media? What is it that people want to see from you when they're in their social channels? It's pretty basic. They want to be educated. We are an information-hungry society. Like the internet is this new thing, and all information is out there available to us, and we want to know as much as possible. Your audience wants to know things, and this is where you can shine. You can give them information that they might not be able to find other places. We all want to be entertained. Who doesn't love a good funny cat video, or the memes that are so popular right now? We like to be entertained. We like to laugh. We want to learn new things. We want to laugh. We like to be inspired. Your personas, your potential buyers, they want inspiration from you. They want to find ways to live their lives better. And then the last one on here, ask me. They want to be involved. The new social is all about connection and community, and they want you to ask their opinion on things. They want to share their opinion. They want to share their ideas within the community. So asking your personas questions right in your social channels can elicit really great responses. Notice a couple things about this. One, who is this about? Who do your buyers care about when they're in the social channels? I'll give you a hint. It's not you. They care about me. They want to know, not me, but themselves. They want to know, they want things for them. You know, they might be interested in your brand, but they're not there yet. And then the other thing that's not on here is sell to me. They don't want to be sold to. They don't want overt disruptive sales happening in their social channels. Snapchat rolled out an ad feature, and it really irritated most of their audience. They got pretty upset about it, and Snapchat's been trying to figure out how do they do this. And Facebook has done a lot of playing around with the ad features and how can we make it so that it's not disruptive to the users, because users don't want to be disrupted. We tend to start all of our clients out with what we call an 80-20 mix. So 80% educational, inspirational, entertaining, getting their audience involved, and then 20% that's promotional, talking about events, talking about things coming up, talking about the brand itself. Depending on your goals, that mix might be different. If you're in HR and you're looking to recruit, you might have more about your brand and about your thought leadership. But typically your users, they want their own needs met first before they're willing to listen to you about what you want to say about yourself. So let's look at each of the channels very briefly and talk. I'm just going to pull out 3 best practices for each channel. We could spend 90 minutes on each channel alone and still not cover all the best practices. But we're going to talk through each of the 8 here, and I'll give you 3 things to think about. So with Facebook, images are powerful. We've seen the data. Image posts, so that's a post with an image attached to it, averages 39% more engagement. So 39% more likes and clicks and shares and comments. Timing. Timing is important on all the channels, but on Facebook, your timing, you want to do it when people are not working, typically. So during lunch, after dinner. We've seen stats that tell us very late at night, right before bed. So like the 11 p.m. to midnight hour tends to be pretty strong for Facebook engagement. And then community, it's all about your audience, about their connections, about their experience. As I talked previously about the information they want, it's about them. It's about that community that you're creating. It's not necessarily about your brand. On YouTube, so YouTube is powerful for social and for SEO, so you want to make sure you've optimized your videos. I'm not going to go into all the details of how to optimize your videos, but if you don't know how, Google it or give us a call and we'll help you with that because it's very, it can just do a lot for you in the search engines as well as on YouTube itself. Now, you can turn comments off on your videos. And if you don't want to monitor your videos and monitor the comments, then by all means turn them off. Because if you have them on, you need to continually monitor for those comments and for that engagement. You want to always be paying attention to what's being said to make sure you respond to things. And the last thing, keep your videos bite-sized. Nobody wants to watch a long video. And YouTube tells us the videos that have the most engagement and get the most view time are between 31 and 60 seconds. You definitely want to stay under 2 minutes, but that 31 to 60 second mark is kind of the ideal from what YouTube tells us with their stats. So LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn is our buttoned up suit and tie social channel. So if you're on LinkedIn, you need to be exceedingly professional. When we talked about the types of content earlier, so educational, inspirational, connectional, no entertainment. This is not the place for a funny cat video that you found. As much as you like that video, it's going to degrade your professional appearance on LinkedIn. So you want to stay educational, inspirational, connectional, but not entertaining, unless you're in the entertainment business, and then that's a whole other story. LinkedIn is a really great place to establish your brand voice as a thought leader. This is where you can say, I know, I've got the pulse on my industry. We know exactly what's going on, and we're your go-to resource for discovering more. And then LinkedIn has groups. Now Facebook has groups. Other channels have groups or lists or circles or things, but LinkedIn groups can be especially powerful. These are places where you can narrow down to a single like-minded group of people within the LinkedIn community. You can post in there, you can comment in there, so you can kind of separate out and segment your audiences. And you can join existing groups, you can start your own group. There's a lot with groups, and even if you're just on LinkedIn as an individual, you should still belong to groups. Find those active groups in your industry and establish yourself as an individual professional, as a thought leader in your industry, as well as your company as a thought leader. So Google Plus, our dark horse of the social, search engine optimization is huge for Google Plus. Google Plus's dad is Google, and we all have to do what we need to do to appease the Google gods. So you know your keywords, do your keyword research, know what they are, and utilize them within every part of your Google Plus profile and any Google Plus post that you do. Now, like LinkedIn groups, Google Plus has circles, but circles are interesting because you're the only one who knows what your circles are named and who's in them. So you can target audiences in your circles without people knowing that they're being targeted within those circles. So you can have a circle of, industry influencers, and you want to target them with certain posts. Or you can have a circle of people, morons that I had to connect with, and you don't want to target them for anything because you don't want to really be connected with them, but you are. I don't recommend that. I don't have a circle called Morons, just so you know, if you're in my circles, I don't actually have that. But I know people who do. Last thing, images. So Google Plus, we've seen data that shows that really high quality imagery makes a difference on Google Plus, that it gets more engagement when you have really high quality images. So this is not the place to use basic stock photos or anything. This is the place to use really good imagery and photos. So Twitter is the most real time of all the social networks, beyond maybe Snapchat. No, not even Snapchat. I would say Twitter is the most real time. It's very fast paced. Users expect quick replies. So if you're doing any kind of customer service on Twitter, half of all users on Twitter expect a customer service reply within 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And they don't care if it's 2 a.m. They want that reply immediately. It's very fast paced. It's very responsive. It's kind of nice because you can actually post the same tweet multiple times in one day, and you're not going to tick anyone off because they may have only seen it once because the feed just keeps scrolling. Twitter was the first of the social networks to use hashtags. You can use them in other places. Twitter, it's really great though. You can monitor trends through the hashtags. You can see what's trending. And you can jump onto those trending topics when it's appropriate, and you can build a greater reach. Always use hashtags in your tweets, because people who are searching that hashtag but don't even know you will find your post because of the hashtags that you used. And then with Twitter, you only get 140 characters, and an ideal tweet is actually under 100 characters. What this means is you need to keep your brand voice ultra consistent. You need to continually talk in the same way when you're on Twitter. So for example, we have these horrific attacks in Paris Friday night. And as I was on Twitter, I was following some of that, but I was also looking to connect with some new people and new companies on Twitter. And I found a few who were in marketing, but they talked about the Paris attacks continually as if they were a news channel. Now, I understand the horror of it, and when something tragic happens, it's hard to think about anything else. But in this case, they were actually doing some damage to their companies. Obviously, we want to say, our hearts go out to those in Paris and Beirut and all these other places that are being attacked right now. But unless you're a news channel, you can't keep talking about that because you're destroying your brand voice. I didn't know what these companies did. I thought maybe they were news channels because they were only talking about the news. But as I scrolled down past last Friday, I could see, no, they weren't. So you need to be careful, not just with bad events, but with good events, depending on who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Make sure that comes through in just about every tweet. Otherwise, you really dilute your brand voice. Pinterest is very visual, and unlike Instagram is where you upload your own visuals. Pinterest is mostly curated. It's probably 98% curated, which means you pin things from within Pinterest, you pin things from websites. It's imagery that already exists out there. The important thing with those images is to tell the story right within the image. You get a description in Pinterest, and it's limited to 500 characters. So you want to stay to about half of that. So you have room for repins and people to add their own things. But also know that when someone repins your images, they may change your description. So you may lose anything you have in there. So you want to make sure that the entire story is contained within that visual itself. Pinterest is one where you can pin a lot. And they'll say that typically Pinterest tells us that the optimal reach is typical with about 10 to 15 timed pins per day. Don't slam your audience with 15 pins all at once. Time them throughout the day. And there are tools that you can use to do that, to time for all the social channels. You can build out a week or a month's worth of posts and then have them timed to go out at certain times on each channel. And then rich pins. So you can add Open Graph meta tags on your website for 5 different kinds of pins: product, recipe, articles, movies, and places. And what that means is you have extra data around that pin. And when it goes on Pinterest, when you pin it on Pinterest and someone sees it, that extra data is there. So if it's a product, they can purchase it right from the Pinterest app. This has been great for e-commerce. If you're e-commerce, you need to be on Pinterest. You need to be selling your products on Pinterest. But also for recipes, for art, for different things, you can have this extra information that just makes a more rich experience for the users, increases click-through, increases your placement on Pinterest itself. With Snapchat, the interesting thing with connecting on Snapchat is it is really, really hard to search and find a company on Snapchat. You have to know their exact Snapchat username, or you have to have their little ghosty that you can take a picture of and connect with that way. So the best way, if you're going to use Snapchat, it really can't be your first social channel, because you're going to have to find your audience in other channels and then use those other channels to direct them to your Snapchat. Our Snapchat users are very young and they don't like to be bored. If you bore them, they will leave instantly. So it needs to, whatever you do, it needs to be funny and interesting and unique. It needs to be something that captures them beyond just basic information. So you have to be very, very creative on Snapchat. And then Snapchat's what we call ephemeral marketing. So if you don't know, when someone opens your Snap, it lasts for 10 seconds and then it's gone, unless it's part of a story, and then you get a little longer. But it's what we call ephemeral marketing. It's here, then it's gone. And this is really a new thing in the whole social realm. And I believe it's just going to grow. That this younger generation, they don't need to keep historical data of things. They don't care about the pictures they take because they take so many. They don't care about the information they get because they get so much. Older generations like me, I'm a Gen Xer and I like to keep everything. And that's not true for this younger generation. And so this concept of ephemeral marketing is only going to grow. And there's a sense of urgency with it. So your user has urgency. I have to open this now and I have to see what's going on. And then it's gone and they're on to the next thing. So that's something to know with Snapchat, that you really have this sense of urgency, this built-in sense of urgency that you can capitalize on. All right, last channel we're talking about, Instagram. So Instagram is very, very visual, and it's all pictures that users are uploading themselves with their mobile device. And it's very mobile. It is definitely a mobile first platform like Snapchat. Now you can access Instagram on your computer, but it's really actually a lousy experience. It's much better on your phone or your mobile device. And then hashtags. So on Twitter, you only have 140 characters. So you're kind of limited to how many hashtags you can use. On Instagram, everybody just goes crazy. You can use 15 to 30 different hashtags to reach more and more and more people right there on Instagram. So now, how do you measure the effectiveness of what you're doing on social? Because social should be just one part of your overall marketing. It's just one tool in your toolbox. Each of those channels is another tool in your marketing toolbox. And at the end of the day, marketing's married to sales, and all sales cares about is new sales and repeat sales and upsells and all of that. But you know, as marketers, we have all these other measures that we can take that we know are going to lead to sales. So let's talk about these in each stage of the funnel. So at the top of the funnel, where we're looking to get traffic, where we're looking to grow that reach that we have in social, what are some of the metrics you need to be measuring? You need to measure your reach. How far out is your reach? Now, your reach can be defined by your number of subscribers or followers, however it's labeled in that channel. But it also goes beyond that. So for example, on Facebook, you put out a post and someone liked that post, and then they left a comment on that post. Now all of their friends saw that they liked that post and left a comment on that post. So while your reach may be 700 people, if this user has another 700 friends, you've just expanded your reach to 1,400. So look at those numbers, because the more engaged, and that's true for every channel, the more engagement you have, the greater your reach. So every time one person engages with you in some form or fashion, lots of other people find out about it. So the other top of funnel metric you want to look at is how much traffic is being driven to your website from your social channels. And this is important. When you're developing your social strategy, you want to think about what are our primary goals? Do we want to primarily build our reach within the social channel? Do we want to drive more traffic to our website? Do we want to drive more traffic to other social channels because we're trying to grow those? Think very carefully with every post, what is your end goal? What are you trying to do? Because that's going to drive which metrics are most important to measure. So at the middle of the funnel, social weakens a little bit here, but it's still usable. So here's where you're looking at engagement. So these are your likes, your comments, your shares, your retweets, your repins. How are people engaging with your channel? How often are they sharing? You can start to see your marketing qualified leads. So someone who engages with your channel on a regular basis may very well be a marketing qualified lead. And then direct quests. A lot of the channels have ways that people can direct message you within the channel. Facebook does, Twitter does. Not all of them do, but LinkedIn does. So look at those direct requests. So direct requests for more information, direct requests for service, whatever those are, because those are moving you down towards that bottom of the funnel where you're going to make sales. Now, most of you aren't selling anything on social. It's possible. It's possible to sell on social and to generate sales there, but most companies aren't doing that yet. If you're not selling anything online, you're certainly not going to sell within social, but you can see in social, you can see your sales qualified leads. You can see more of those direct requests. Direct requests. So someone sends you a direct request. Hey, I'd love to get a demo of your product, or hey, I'd love to take a tour. How do I do that? Those are bottom of the funnel leads there. Those are places where you can start to turn. And then at the very bottom, we have retention. And again, like I said at the very beginning of this presentation, this is a place where social really shines because it gives your happy customers, your happy clients, a place to go talk about you to other people. And you can even tell them, hey, when someone says, hey, I had a great experience, like, that's awesome. Can you go say something on our Facebook page? That would be great. If you could leave a review there or on our Google Plus page, that stuff is very powerful. Your brand advocates, your digital brand advocates are your new word of mouth marketing. We all know word of mouth marketing is the most powerful form of marketing. We also know you can't buy it. You can't generate it yourself. You're totally dependent on happy customers. So ask them, get them to your social channels to talk about you, because that's more believable than you talking about yourself. So the metrics you're looking at here, the engagement, so comments, shares, likes, those sorts of things, because when you see those repeated people over and over that have already purchased, they're already customers, you're building those brand advocates. Reviews, obviously, the number of positive reviews. And we'll talk briefly when I give this presentation live. I always get questions here. Well, what happens when someone leaves a negative review? So we're going to veer off course here just for a second to talk about that, because that's always a concern. If you don't have a reputation management strategy, you need to develop one. And the three things you need in your reputation management strategy are: one, ways to build positive reviews. So you should have defined methods of asking your current clients and customers to leave reviews for you. You should know where you want them to go online, whether it's to your social channels, whether it's to a review site like Yelp or Glassdoor, depending on your goals. You should know exactly, and you should be able to steer people. Here's where I want you to go leave a review. That would be great. So building those positive reviews is part one of your reputation management. Part two is building your brand dominance online. So having all of your social channels, having a robust website with rich links and rich snippets, having lots of presence across the citations, so the name, address, citation places, your local listings, all of those, building that brand dominance. So when someone searches for you, they find you, and then they start to find all those positive reviews that you've already asked for. And then the last part, the third part of any good reputation management policy, is the part that scares everyone the most, but knowing how to handle those negative reviews. They will happen. It's just a fact of life. People who are unhappy are typically much more vocal than people who are happy. So knowing exactly what you're going to do if someone leaves a negative review on Facebook, if someone slams you on Twitter, having pre-built, not canned responses. Obviously, we never want to leave canned responses, but monitoring your channels and knowing exactly what you're going to say. Oh, I'm so sorry you had a bad experience. Please call us because we'd love to make this right for you. Something as simple as that can diffuse a lot of that negativity. And it shows, always responding shows the rest of the audience who doesn't know anything about that situation. They don't know that person was a pain to work with across the board when they were in your facility. They were just uncooperative. The problems were all on them. Your audience doesn't know that. And quite frankly, they don't care about that. But what they want to know is that you care that everybody has a good experience. They want to see that response online. So don't let bad reviews scare you away from the power that you can have within social media and within any digital marketing. So measuring those reviews is a very strong metric for retention. Measuring your shares, how many times people share your page, share your posts, share different parts of your social presence. It's definitely a metric you want to measure. That's the same with retweets. Retweets and shares are the same thing. Brand mentions. So when someone mentions your brand in their own post, in their own tweet, in their own pin, whatever they're doing, you should be measuring those. If you don't have a tool for that, go to Google Alerts. It's a free tool. It's simple. You can have up to 1,000 alerts, and you can set it up so that every time someone mentions your brand or some form of your brand name, you get an email about it. It's quick, it's easy, and then you'll always know what's being said about you across all channels that are online. So if you've had any questions, I hope you've put them into the chat or put them into Twitter. I can't see them on my screen here, but I know Jordan and Mark are taking care of that. They're both brilliant, so they're answering lots of questions, I'm sure. As we go through this, sometimes people say, I'm totally overwhelmed. I don't know where to start or what to do. And I know we should be doing some social, and we're doing some email marketing, and we're doing all these different things, but I don't know how well they're working. I don't know what to recommend next. If that's the case, you may very well need a digital marketing audit. That's one of the services we provide. And I can't tell you how much value all of our clients have found from a digital marketing audit. We dig into every part of your digital marketing strategy or lack of strategy. Most of the time, it's just bits and pieces of disconnected marketing. And we're getting, typically people are getting a little bit of return here and a little bit of return there, but you might not know why, or you might not know, how do I really know if this email marketing program that we have, if it's really working, if this strategy is bringing us the return we want? This is what an audit can tell you. If you want more information about that, I would love to talk with you. You can call our office directly or email connect@marketingessentials.com, and we'd be happy to talk with you about a digital marketing audit and help you develop the strategy that you need to get traffic, get leads, get sales, and then create those raving brand advocates. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate you joining us. It's been fun to talk about social media. I think all the questions have been answered online, so there are no additional questions. This presentation will be available on YouTube almost as soon as we're done. YouTube will start uploading it for us. But again, I thank you for joining us, and this ends our presentation for today.